Hello, welcome to this week's lesson Unit 1, Introduction to Nursing Informatics. Please take notes while listening to this lecture and read the supplemental readings because some of the items I discuss might not be presented in this slide and might appear in your test. You can always pause this video to take down your notes. Speaking of notes, how do you organize your notes? Do you highlight them? Do you put dog ears or bookmarks? If you keep a soft copy, how do you manage your soft copy? Do you put it in one folder, name it in a subject, and put subfolders for each unit? Do you retrieve your notes or files efficiently when you need them? Or you don't organize at all? You just literally put them in the desktop. Do you delete or throw them away as soon as the course is over? The way you organize your information is similar to informatics. Today we will talk about how data is kept, information is managed to create knowledge, and which guides our action as nurses. Today we will take a look at nursing informatics. So to give you a very short background, I was born when the internet had just started in the first world. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and in the 90s we played with friends outside with clay and dirt. I remember when it's full moon, everyone in the community will come out and play games until we get tired and sleep at 8 o'clock in the evening. I was in grade 4 when I first saw a computer. I remembered Microsoft 1994, and the template wallpaper is a mountain lion. Our engineer neighbor has one and showed me his desktop computer. It was huge, and the machine was a total mystery to me. When I was in grade 6 in 1996, only the rich kid in class could afford to pay a computer class, and I was one of those less fortunate who could not afford. When I was in third year high school, I remember that a vocational course was offered to everyone in our school, and at this time, I forced my mom to pay for my enrollment. I remember Mr. Ted, my computer teacher, told me that one day every house would have a PC, and I think we have surpassed Mr. Ted's prediction. Computers are all around us. Did you notice technology all around you? It became more evident when COVID-19 started and then everyone jumped into the bandwagon of online classes. When I was in high school, my girlfriend and my teacher were the first ones to have cell phones. These are dumb phones about the size of a bar soap, and now you can't barely see them anymore, and you can't barely see someone who doesn't have smartphones in their hands. Computer technology has influenced everything we do. So this is me working in emergency. So I can't imagine life as a nurse without a computer. I can't imagine working as a nurse right now and having to document my progress notes on a piece of paper or find the doctor's order in the bulky chart or binder that someone missed, or give medication without scanning, which feels very unsafe to do. You see, the word computer may appear in different forms like smartphones, tablets, and many others. You have seen how they are being used to manage information regarding patient care in the academic, administration, and research purposes. This weekly lesson aims to describe nursing informatics and the role of information technology in patients' care and to provide safety in a healthcare environment. And by the end of this week, you should be able to define terms to nursing informatics like data, information, knowledge, and wisdom, differentiate between medical informatics, nursing informatics, and consumer informatics. Identify the roles of nurses in the field of information technology, describe what nurses or what influence information technology, and discuss the impact of informatics and other information and communication technology in the field of nursing. Our lecture for this week include the required reading from Nursing Informatics and the Foundation of Knowledge, 5th edition, page 7 to 33 and page 113 to 137. Also, you need to read the supplemental readings from Historical Perspective of Nursing Informatics, which the link can be found underneath the stream, and also read the informatics history, theory, concepts, and competencies, And lastly, watch the video on the overview of nursing informatics, which is also one of your activities for this week. And I will post a separate stream for this one. So what is nursing informatics? According to McGonigal and Maestrian 2021, and I quote, traditionally defined as a specialty that integrates nursing science, computer science, and information science to manage and communicate data, information, knowledge, and wisdom in nursing practice, end of quote. According to these authors, nursing science is one of the building blocks of nursing informatics. In addition, they have added cognitive science. McGonigal and Maestrian 2021 added cognitive science presented to you in the slide are the building blocks of nursing informatics. As you can see, that surrounding nursing informatics are 4 circles. So in the previous models, there were only 3, but in the new model by McGonigal and Maestrian, they added cognitive science. What is cognitive science? We'll talk about that later. Each represents the building blocks. I'll explain this using my own experience as a bedside nurse. Okay, so this happened in one of the units where I work. I noticed that the patient feels warm, skin is pinkish, and I noted that the patient is sweating. I then took the vitals machine and checked the patient's temperature and the remaining vital signs. I learned that the patient's temperature is 38 degrees Celsius and there are slight variations in other vitals. I entered all the data in the rover. So a rover is an electronic equivalent to a patient's chart, usually a cell phone. In my workplace, it is an iPhone 10R. Using the computer, we call it COW, C-O-W, computer on wheels. I take a look at the morning blood work, and it was still pending. I then look at the trend in the temperature for the past 24 hours and noted that the incident is a new occurrence. And I take a look at the doctor's orders and found a protocol that says to send blood samples for culture and may give Tylenol 500 mg or PO or per rectum every 4 hours if temperatures go beyond 38 and above. I give a nursing diagnosis to the patient as having altered thermoregulation. So that's a fancy term for fever. I then recall everything I learned from my nursing program on the pathophysiology of fever, nursing interventions, pharmacology, microbiology, and my experience taking care of patients. Knowing that heat transfer mechanism, I plan to remove extra blankets, advise the patient to drink plenty of fluids, apply a tepid sponge bath, give Tylenol, and send a blood sample for culture. And will monitor the patient's temperature in the next hour. I then implemented my plan. I went to the computer and documented my interventions. An hour later, I reassessed the patient and learned that the fever was still at 38.1 degrees Celsius and had some fatigue, and she did not eat either. I called the doctor, informed the doctor about the findings, and sent blood samples for culture. I expressed my concern that the patient might be having sepsis based on my assessment and previous experience. While the doctor and I were still on the phone, a notification came up in the screen of the computer saying that the WBC was abnormally high. The doctor agreed with the theme and ordered antibiotics to be started. Just before we ended up our conversation, the artificial intelligence of the hospital information system kicked in and notified both doctors and I about the likelihood of the patient having sepsis, and the AI suggests a care plan for the patient, which the doctor and I approve. From this story, can you identify which aspect of the story is a nursing science? I'll define nursing science for you according to my source, and I quote, nursing science is the ethical application of knowledge acquired through education, research, and practice to provide services and interventions to patients to maintain, enhance, or restore their health, to advocate for health, and to acquire, process, generate, and disseminate nursing knowledge to advance the nursing profession. So this is when you go to school, that is nursing science, right? When you learn pathophysiology, when you learn everything about like the 4-year program is the nursing science, and and we discuss about the science of care too in school. So that's nursing science. And then, based on my story, can you identify which part is computer science? So what is computer science? So for you, it's easy. I think it's easy for you to define. But for like people who were born 1970s and below, or 60s and 80s, it might be difficult. But according to our source, McGonigal and Maestri in 2021, and quote, it is a branch of engineering studies that studies the theoretical foundation of information and computation and their implementation and application in computer systems, the study of storage, memory, conversion and transformation, and transmission of data in machines, which algorithms through algorithms and practical implementation problems. End of quote. That was a long definition indeed, but I think to make it simple, it is the software and hardware mechanism of the system. Can you tell me which part of the story is related to computer science? Do you think AI is a product of computer science? We'll talk about that later. Information science, another what they call this component of nursing informatics, is also involved in the story information science, according to McGonigal and Maestri in 2021, and quote, the science of information, studying the application and usage of information and knowledge in organization and the interfacing of interaction between people, organizations, and information systems, end of quote. Remember input, process, output, and feedback? I think you know that in your high school, right? So this is the process that we use in a computer. So when you touch or when you key in or encode in the keyboard something, that's input, and then the computer will process it, and then the output, and gives you an output. If you say 1 plus 1, computer process it, and 2 will give you the output, and then you verify that, okay, that's correct, 2 is correct, right? So that's feedback. Primarily, that is the concern of information science and applying IT as needed, according to our source. Based on a definition, can you identify which part of the story is information science? McGonigal and Maestri in 2021 also added cognitive science as the fourth building block of nursing informatics. I quote that cognitive science is an interdisciplinary field that studies the mind, intelligence, and behavior from
Here's something I found on the web. According to Wikipedia.
I'm sorry about that. Alexa is just listening about our discussion. I turned her off. Let's continue with cognitive science. As I've said, it is the fourth building block of informatics. And according to our sources, it is an interdisciplinary field that studies the mind, intelligence, and behavior from an information processing perspective. So that is information. Can you differentiate information science from computer science? Does informatics enable nurses to generate new knowledge and arrive at wisdom? Did I use the nursing process to begin with? Reflect on how the nurse manages information and knowledge to achieve accurate and relevant nursing care. Now, you can define nursing informatics in your own words. So, let's talk about the key terms. The key terms in nursing informatics we have. Actually, this is not only a key term, but the one that is shown in the here in the slide is the mechanism, theory behind nursing informatics. So this is that data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So historically, nurses gathers information. Every time we gather information, be it observation, be it measurements like vital signs, and then we put it in, and then we interpret it, and then it gives us knowledge that, oh, the patient is having fever, and then we give patient interventions, and we found out that some interventions are better than others, and then it creates wisdom. So the next time we have this kind of patient, we know what to do. Okay, so we know what to implement. We know what to how to take care of the patient. So can you imagine if that system that we use in nursing, we translate that into a computer process, right? So before it was paper, and doing this in paper format is number one very difficult because you need to have a form, and in order to have that form approved, you have to pass through a lot of bureaucracies, a lot of approvals, and if they're not your friends, your form is not approved, and it takes a long time, and then it's not automated. The computer cannot detect any changes in the trend, so information process is delayed, and also the knowledge is very slow, right? And the wisdom may not be wisdom anymore, so sometimes we stop at knowledge and then never mind about the wisdom. So sorry, the first word is data. So data, according to McGonigal and Maestri in 2021, unquote, these are raw facts that lack meaning. End of quote. An example of data is temperature. Like for example, temperature 38.38 degrees Celsius. The patient's name is a data. ID numbers, monitor alerts and alarms, ECG. Can you imagine? MRI is also a data. Data could be alphabetic, numeric, audio, image, and video. According to these authors, professionals across healthcare constantly process data and information to provide the best possible care for patients. Data are vital. Its integrity and quality are very important, according to McGonigal and Maestri in 2021. That's why, as nurses, we don't guess patients' respiratory rate. Did you know that all nurses won't go to heaven? Answer why is that why does nurse doesn't go to heaven? It's because they guess respiratory rate. They never count. They just look at the patient and then guess. We also guess blood pressure, so it's very important that we don't guess all those information and put it in the computer the way you extract them from patients. Okay, and or any data that we acquire from the patient and put in the hospital's information system. If you are guessing and put it in the computer system, it will contaminate all the information, and your artificial intelligence may not be intelligence at all. My teacher told me that the output would be garbage if you process garbage. Remember, input, process, output, feedback. So if you put in wrong or a garbage one, the computer that process the garbage, and the output will be garbage as well. McGonigal and Mistrian 2021 enumerated situations wherein data integrity can be compromised, and these are the following. Number one, by human error. Viruses, not the viruses that spreads like during the pandemic, but these are computer viruses, worms, computer bugs, crashes, and hardware failures, transmission errors. Sometimes I get so mad because when I take vitals and I open my rover, remember the rover iPhone 10R? This is the electronic equivalent of the patient's chart. We don't have those flip charts anymore. We don't have to go to the nurse's station and then, hey, can I have the patient's chart now? Everyone can use the patient's chart all at once, and everyone can write notes all at once, unlike before. So this is a rover. I mean, it looks like this. Actually, it looks like this, the rover. So it's just the normal. Hey, okay, it's just the normal iPhone XR, and they put in batteries in it, and then you put in vital signs, scan patient's bracelet. The bracelet has a QR code. You scan them, you'll see their chart in here, and you can input vital signs. You can input medications. You can input a lot of stuff. Even writing notes can be done. So sorry. So one time I was there in a patient's room, and this is like I went to the psychiatric unit facility, and I went to a spruce room or a locked room. And then when I get in, I started to when you're scared. Do you know that psychiatric patients can be scary too? So I went there inside, and then I scanned the patient's bracelet. I was in a hurry, and while I was scanning it, the thing says connection failure. So yeah, that's that's uh, that's when the integrity of data is compromised. So what happened next is that I memorized it, and then someone talked to me, and then I was like, oh my god, what's the blood pressure again? So and then you have to guess. So I have to go back to get it. So those were um, issues that compromise data integrity. Next one is um, hackers too. Our hospital has an internal security management officers that manage security, and we are always in the bridge. I mean, not in. We are always at risk for cybersecurity hackers. So that's why we have to be very careful. We always receive emails that says don't click this, don't click that, and we are very serious about hacking because all our data now is available online. Sorry. Next is this situations, these issues that I'm talking about can put safe can put the hospital at risk for breakdown or like a technology breakdown. So what can we do to prevent this? We can always put safeguards to decrease errors, such as backing up files. So these are the safeguards: backing up files, detecting errors for transmission, and creating a good graphic user interface to help people enter data correctly. You have to remember that data integrity is very essential. It's very essential. It's very important and essential. And features such as AI, automated care plans. So talking about automated care plans, the system that we are using also creates an automated care plan, and you just have to like approve them. How easy is that? How convenient is that? You don't have to look at the book or search the computer. What are the nursing care for patients with diabetes? So it automatically generates that. So features such as AI, automatic care plans, and triage systems depend on the quality of data we feed. Going back to my example, can you imagine if the AI suggests a different clinical pathway? It would give the doctors and the nurses a hard time because we have to review the correctness of the information that is in the system. According to McGonigal and Mastrian to 2021, I quote, "The data that is processed into information must be of high quality and integrity to create meaning to inform assessments and decision making." So can you imagine if if the doctor based the decision on the clinical data that's available? Or this one, I give you an example: blood sugar. So our blood sugar machine is connected to the system. So once you take the blood sugar, you dock it, and then once you docked it in its base, it transmits the information and synchronize the information in the system. What if we don't use that? What if we use those old time dumb blood sugar machines that doesn't transmit data, and then you just take a look at it, and then after that you forgot about it, and then when it's time for documentation, it's like, oh, how much was the blood sugar? And then you just guess. And can you imagine if it's your parent, if the patient is your parent, and the doctor is now prescribing a medication and insulin, and based on the blood sugars that was taken, the doctor needs those information to process how much units of insulin shall we give to this patient. So if the doctor based the blood sugar reading, and the blood sugar reading informations are not good, is based on a guess, or they are bad information, how I don't like I can imagine the prescription, the amount of medication given to the patient. So the care is compromised too. So you have to remember that you have to input a high quality information. Excuse me. Okay, so remember to use all your senses when gathering data and describe data as close to the truth as possible, according to my authors. How do you define information? So, according to McGonigal and Maestrian 2021, and quote, data are interpreted, organized, or structured, data processed using knowledge, or data made functional through the application of knowledge, end of quote. Some authors suggest that for information to be meaningful, it must be accessible, accurate, timely, complete, cost effective, flexible, reliable, relevant, simple, verifiable, and secure. For example, if a patient is having fever, so you have to like take a look at the trend on the temperature. So when I was second year like you, we were taught of how to do assessments. So we have these forms, right? So now, like forms on paper that ask for the name, age, address, the medical history, surgical history, the history of a present illness, HPI. You'll be taught about. I don't know if you have that one now. So before we use paper based, and we have to ask the patient, right? Everything. Now we use computer, and we use software to acquire that information. So I bring the cow or COW or the computer and wheels in front of the patient and open the patient's chart and access the assessment assessment forms digitally, and I enter everything. And as soon as I enter all the stuff, the computer process the information, and at the end will tell me what's going on or suggest something for the nurse to consume, like a knowledge for us to consume, and use that knowledge to implement or to take to guide in how we take care of our patient. So knowledge is defined according to McGonigal and Maestrian, unquote, as the awareness and understanding of a set of information that can be made useful to support a specific task or arrive at a decision abounds with other thoughts and information, end of quote. So that's knowledge. So knowledge came from information, and information came from data. So did you see the process now? And at the end, wisdom. So wisdom, on the other hand, according to McGonigal and Maestrian, 2021, and quote, is the knowledge applied practically or translated into actions. The use of knowledge and experience to heighten common sense and insight to exercise sound judgment in practical matters, end of quote. In short, McGonigal and Maestrian 2021 says that it is the ability to act appropriately. In my story, when nurses suggest a plan of care to the doctor based on their knowledge and experience, and the doctor orders to start antibiotics before the culture, is an example of knowledge. And another example is that when I was a new nurse, I see these older nurses, more mature and more seasoned nurses. They do things without thinking, without even thinking, like because of their experience, because of the deep experience that they have. They when they see a patient, they just take a look at the patient and know what to do. So that is knowledge, that is wisdom. So the purpose of nursing informatics is to acquire that wisdom and share it to other people. The thing about the previous system is that those wisdom stays in the skull of those nurses, of those older nurses, and sometimes they don't share it. So using computers, using nursing information system, now we are able to acquire that wisdom, and that wisdom can also be applied, replicated, and applied to other patients. Can you imagine if we can replicate the wisdom of a mature, I mean, a seasoned nurse, for example. Let's just take for example your dean. Your dean is a very intelligent person, very intelligent. Is the previous is a previous president of Cebu Normal University. I remember at those times, it was so great. So imagine we can duplicate that kind of wisdom and use that in the clinical setting. So when you say clinical setting, it's in like the bedside, right? So can you imagine? That would be great, right? And and we have to do this process, data, information, knowledge, and wisdom, in order to acquire that and store that. So here comes computer science. We store that into a storage media and process it, okay? And 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 we manage the information. We manage the information. We study the information, the trends and behavior of information, and here it comes computer science. So most probably from now you can actually define what nursing information is, or yeah, nursing informatics is. So there are different types of informatics. We have the medical, nursing, and consumer. So what is informatics? According to HABDA 2009, informatics is defined as the art and the science of turning data into information. So what are different types of informatics? Shown in the slide is the different type of informatics. We have the medical informatics, nursing informatics, and consumer informatics. First is medical informatics. So according to USF Health 2021, you can see the link in my reference. And I quote, medical informatics is a subdiscipline of health informatics where skills in both medical and computer science come together to improve healthcare and patient outcomes. Professionals in this hybrid field draw on expertise from both disciplines to put technology to its best use in patient care, clinical and research settings, end of quote. Nursing informatics is traditionally, as I mentioned earlier, defined as a specialty that integrates nursing science, computer science, and information science to manage, communicate data. Our author added cognitive science as well. To communicate data, information, knowledge, and wisdom in nursing practice. We have talked about this in the previous slide. According to the American Nurses Association, or ANA, in 2007, nursing informatics facilitate the integration of data, information, knowledge, and wisdom to support patients, nurses, and other providers in their decision-making in all roles and settings. It is accomplished by using information structures, information processes, and information technology. According to NSNIG 1999, is about how all nurses manage the information they collect so that it is meaningful and contributes to quality patient care. Hence the ultimate goal of nursing informatics is to get the right information to the right people, the right time to do them, and the right job and the right cost. So that is the ultimate goal of nursing informatics. Again, it is to get the right information. So if pharmacology has like 6 rights, 10 rights, or whatever, nursing information has the 5R, I think. Right people, right time, right job, and the right cost. So that's the ultimate goal of nursing informatics. Question, like, sir, are we doing that in this course? Actually, I've learned that computer nursing informatics, or being a nursing informaticist or a specialist, is a graduate school course, and this course is done to give you an introduction, to give you like an appreciation of nursing informatics. Who knows, later on you're gonna specialize in nursing informatics, and it's very important before doing specialization in nursing informatics you have to work as a nurse, because the thing is, there will be a big problem if you create softwares, if you manage softwares, and the ones that manage the software are not nurses. It happened before, okay? Nurses get irritated because the software, they cannot relate with the software. So there is a great need of nurses to go into nursing information systems and work there because they know the process, right? So that's a big requirement for being a nurse informaticist and nurse specialist. Are you a nurse informaticist, sir? That's my pathway that I will go sooner when I'm finished with my um, ongoing education. I'm gonna do a master's in hospital information system. It's available here in Canada, so I'm excited to do that. I have a friend who went to my colleague who went to University of Toronto to study HIS, and soon enough I'll follow. The third type of informatics is consumer informatics. According to AMAI 2007, the branch of medical informatics studies the use of electronic information and communication to improve medical outcomes and healthcare decision process or the consumer's perspective. So medical, nursing, and consumer. So we are in the middle, okay? We study nursing informatics. As we move forward to more advanced technology, the potential for nurses within healthcare environment working with technology also widens. Several areas offer tremendous opportunities for nurses to specialize in the field of information technology. So the roles include informatics nurse or nurse informaticists, and also informatics nurse specialist. You'll know more about this when you watch the video. It's an hour-long video, but it's a good video. It might give you interest in nursing informatics. Let's talk about informatics nurse. According to Min Kenya in 2021, a nursing information connects. This is a nursing informatician that connects the gap between data and the nursing practice by combining clinical experience and data expertise. According to the same author, informatics nurses have three key responsibilities. First, they fully understand and communicate the why behind the new process. Second, implement new processes. And third, validate data quality. Do you remember the data quality I mentioned in my previous slides? Are you able to determine quality and data? So I saw these people in the units. They're the ones that shadow you and take a look at your process, and they acquire data, gets your feedback to make the process more smoothly. For example, you're giving medication, right? And you're scanning it, scan the patient, scan the medication, and then the computer will approve the administration, give you information why it's not compatible, and then the nurse informaticist will take a look at the process and ask you for feedback if the process is efficient or how can we improve the process. So these are the people that fills in the gap between data and the system. Next one is informatics nurse specialist. According to McGonigal and Mystery in 2021, and quote, INS is a registered nurse with a graduate level education in the field of informatics or a related field which is considered a specialist in the field of nursing informatics. They are interested in both computer automation and the provision of healthcare. This group of nurses will become even more important. They are bridging the gap between clinical skills and technology. They are responsible for providing clinical information and data analysis for effective patient care and monitoring. The role of this nurse information specialist is to, number one, employ informatics theories, concepts, methods, and tools to analyze information and system requirements. So, do you like to create a system? To make it simpler, when I was in college, I don't have a laptop because during my time it was a time when laptops are expensive. Only the rich kid in my class has one. So if I had a laptop that time, I would use it. But at that time I don't have, so I purchased this logbook, like a security logbook. I made it my notebook and I divided it into several what do you call this, partitions, and I named the partition. This partition is medical surgical nursing. This partition is ethics and all the stuff. So I what do you call this? I divide them properly, and um what else? I got lost. um yeah, divide them properly, and then I put dog ears in it, so it's easy for me to like extract the information. Okay, so when you love to create a process. So like putting dog ears. So the color of the first dog ear is red. I followed the Roy G. B format. If do you like that's where the question is, do you love to create a process? Like in your house, you say, okay, let's leave the sleepers outside and get a new sleeper inside the house, and the dog can't do this and do that. So if you love that, you might be interested with computer informatics because it deal ICN INS, because it deals with creating systems that works, of course. And another role of the nurse information specialist is to design, select, implements, and evaluate information system, data structures, and decision support. If they work, if they really work. The decision support mechanism that supports patient and their human computer interactions within healthcare complex. So these are the people that we talk to, like for example the rover, right? So this is actually not a rover. This is one of my cell phone that I'm sending to the Philippines, and this is not from the hospital. Okay, those who are watching you from the hospital, this is not yours. This is mine. See, it's a different one. It's a different one. Okay, so these are the guys that we talk to when we ask how to take care of this, how to manage, how to take a look at the computer. I mean the rover, and what else? Like what are the systems behind this? So these are the people we ask to, and this is their responsibility. This is their role. Another responsibility of informatics nurse specialists are to facilitate the creation of new nursing knowledge. I love that. I love to create nursing knowledge. Do you? If you love that, after graduating nursing, consider taking um, this course. I don't know if it's in the Philippines, but it is available in Western countries and I think in Singapore too. Several influences push information technology in the healthcare environment. Patient safety comes first. Always, always. If you create knowledge, create systems, always have in mind patient safety because that's the ultimate design for every process that we create. We need a system that accurately identifies the patients and verifies patients for safety purposes. The second is the shortage of nursing staff. So these are why we use information technology. The first reason is that we need an accurate system. The second one is that the shortage of nursing staff. So the year 2020 and 2021 has been dubbed as the era of great resignation. There are a lot of nurses that resigned from their post here and I think in the Philippines too. I have observed that several nurses I know resigned in exchange for a non-nursing job. Did you think about that, sir, at some point? Because it's really tiring taking care of patients with COVID and people doesn't listen, right? And I can't blame because these are new stuff. Like the COVID pandemics and new stuff. It's not new right now. It's been 2 to 3 years already. And the third influence that made us push technology or information technology is the application of evidence-based practice. In Canada alone, what did I say? Never mind. Let's continue. So the third is the application of evidence practice research and best practices needs to be shared faster than the speed of light. So this one like transferring information is needed right now. We need an information system that transfers information from the United States, Canada, Europe to the Philippines because we need that information, most especially when we do variants, the COVID variants, and the way they report it. I think they have a very good reporting system right now. And the fourth reason why we push technology, information technology, is that we call genomics or targeted medicine. Have you heard of that? I've heard of this one, which is available in Israel and the United States. These are what we call I forget the term. There's a term on it, fancy term. They call it a designer drug. Have you heard of that? So that's why we push information technology, because information technology plays a great role in the development of targeted medicine for cancer and some other disease. Like I hope, like mine, I have a disease in the eye, and I hope I can afford a targeted medicine to, you know. Fifth reason why we push technology is the demand of cost-efficient and quality care. And six is research performance-based pay. And the most recent reason is the pandemic. There are a lot of forces that influence why we have to use technology. So now we talk about history and evolution of informatics. So imagine you are hired to a new unit or ward, and the manager asks you one thing, that is to speak a specific language related to that unit or ward. So when I say unit, it refers to ward, because we call our ward here a unit. Ward is kind of like an old style term. So when you transfer to a different unit, they also have other languages. This is why hospital, each unit has its own system, causing each department to operate in silos. You know, silos like what do you call storage for corns or crops. And they have you been south in Aposemco corporations and you see those big tubes? Those were silos. So each unit has their own language, and they work by silos. The people in the operating room don't talk too much. I mean, don't talk to other units, and when other units comes to the operating room, they're like, "Oh, this is a different unit. They use different words." And then healthcare organizations now develop an integrated information system that caters to the needs of all the departments in the hospital, according to McGonigal and Maestri in 2021. And for sure, I can attest to it, I work in different departments. Can you imagine that every day I work in a different department because I'm part of the clinical resource team? So, for example, today I work in the emergency department, and the emergency department too has several subspecialty areas like psychiatry, pediatrics. They have fast track, and other care centers too that have different goals and um, different client population. So, and also I work in the units, rehab. I work in medical surgical units. I work in cardiology. So every day, and I only knew of my schedule like 15 minutes, 5 minutes before time. And at this time, when the hospital roll out the Epic systems, the what you call each unit was unified into one information system, that if I'm assigned to rehab today and I'll go to the pediatrics, it's the same system and they're not using different languages. So I can work everywhere. And it's easy for me, but I did have training though. Like for CRTs, the clinical resource team, I think we received 3 trainings for the information system, and the people in the unit only have one. So I have 3, and I have to you know um, work on it. According to McGonigal and Mistrian 2021, historically, Florence Nightingale has been credited as one of the first statisticians to collect and use data to improve patient care. Excuse me. Later, those data were used to enhance hospital patient conditions in her time. So she has this notebook and she wrote everything in there. So, what are her observations? So her observations was about cleanliness. If patient is not clean, they'll die. So that's, and other too, and there are others. So she's a statistician. She's the mother of nursing. She's the mother of modern nursing. So historically, she's been credited for that. According to Hacker, in the 1950s, that computer impacted. It was the year that computers impacted to in the nursing profession. And on the other hand, McGonigal and Maestri in 2021 mentioned that in the same year, a nurse researcher, Harriet Worley, at Walter Reed Army Research Institute, consulted with IBM to explore computers in healthcare settings. Can you imagine that? I'm so proud of her. That's in the 1950s. The same author. So, question: is nursing informatics new? No, it's not. It started in the 1950s. The same author said that in the 1960s, it was the French first used the term informatique. They said it's a French or Russian informatique medical to describe healthcare informatics. Another author, Saba and others said that in the 1960s, computers were processing primary administrative tasks in the healthcare settings like paying the compute payrolls. And in the Philippines, I don't remember what hospital it is. The first computer that was used in nursing was placed in front of the nurse station to record vital signs, and they use Excel for that. that comes like earlier. In the 1960s, they were used to process payrolls and others, and like patient payments too. They said that it kickstarted the computer revolution in healthcare, which led to today's healthcare information technology and electronic healthcare systems. In Hacker's account in the 1980s, nursing informatics became the official category of healthcare informatics. According to her, it was in the 80s that pushed nursing informatics today. In the 70s and 80s, it is when where people started to advocate the study of nursing informatics. Yep. To know more about the history and the development of nursing informatics, please read the supplemental reading. Please read. There are some things that I didn't discuss in this lecture. According to Saba and others, nurses use computers to manage patient care information, monitor quality, and evaluate outcomes of the patient. Sending and receiving data is another impact of computer in a modern healthcare setting. The same author stated that nurses increasingly use computers for planning, budget allocation, and guiding to policy making for patient care services. In 1989, Graves and Corcoran offered what is widely viewed as the earliest definition of nursing informatics, which is a combination of nursing science, information science, and nursing science designed to assist in the management and processing of nursing data, information and knowledge to support practice of nursing and the delivery of nursing care. So please read more on Graves and Corcoran's theory, okay? In the 1990s, the American Medical Informatics Association was founded with a work group, the American Nurses Association, who recognized nursing informatics as a specialty. Fast forward 2021, a combined scope and standards document was released by ANA, followed by a more comprehensive scope and standards published in 2008. Finally, in 2015, by the way, in 2015, the ANA released the second edition of Nursing Informatics Scope and Standards of Practice, and after that, in 2021, they released a more comprehensive roles and coverage. So I mentioned about the traditional nursing information definition by Concoran, and I would encourage you to read the supplemental reading because you will find more on the theory, models, and framework of nursing informatics. So what I'm using right now is the newest one by McGonigal and Maestrian. This book. This is the latest of the nursing informatics books released last year. So the models that I use for this lecture are primarily from my primary source, but it is worthwhile to look at other concepts and theories behind nursing informatics. On our supplemental reading, please read the PowerPoint from Charlotte Sackman. Link is provided below to look at Grace's and Concurrent's 1999 concepts and Turley's 1996 concept in nursing informatics. So before we end our discussion, and I think that will be all for the introduction of nursing informatics, I would like you to do this activity. So you have 2 activities for this week for your individual discussion. So part 1 and part 2. So activity 1, part 1, read the clinical vignette about Tom and discuss how the building blocks of nursing informatics influence Tom's actions in the situation. Did he generate new knowledge? How did he do it? Write your answers as a class comment on this week's stream and reply to any of your classmates' responses at least one to complete your activity part 1. Individual discussion entry for this week. Be mindful of the word count, which is 150 words maximum. Do not copy your classmates' answers because you will be subjected to plagiarism. Okay, so read this one and in your answer discuss how the building blocks of nursing informatics influence Tom's action in the situation. Did he generate new knowledge? How did he do it? So read the clinical vignette about Tom. Part 2 of your activity for this week is that you'll be watching a nursing informatics video entitled Beyond the Electronic Health Record and answer the following questions. So write your answer in a Word document, put in a cover page and a reference page, and please title your file name according to the format found in our course outline, which is the surname and the title of the activity. And submit this activity in the classwork or the stream posted after this post in the Google class as Unit 1 Activity Part 2. And these are the questions. Why nursing informatics is a misunderstood specialty? Based on the video, what is the definition of nursing informatics? How has informatics evolved? What are other technologies informatics specialists work? What does nursing informatics do? Who do they work? Explain the terminology that surrounds the field of informatics. What are the misconceptions of nursing informatics? What kind of opportunities that are coming to the field of nursing informatics? And how can nurses thrive with the technology revolution? That's very interesting, right? And 10, are you interested in nursing informatics? So write that down in a Word format and post it in another posting that I'll be posting in the stream or in the classwork. Okay, and I think that ends our discussion for this week, Unit 1. And please read all the supplemental reading and do your task for this week. Tasks should be done at the end of week 1. So week 1 starts from February 14 to the end of that. What is the end of that? Let me see. What is the end of that week? So February 14 to 20. So you have to complete the activity until the 20th of February. Okay, and then I'll start posting on the night of February 20 the contents for Unit 2. Okay, I think that's all, and thank you for listening and have a wonderful week. If you have questions, please send your questions to our group chat, and these are my references.